Most people think pain is a curse, a punishment, a detour. But what if it's not? What if pain is the invitation you've been avoiding your entire life? Pain doesn't come to ruin you, it comes to reveal you. And the way you respond to it, that quiet storm inside you, will shape everything you become. This video is not about positive thinking, it's about facing the fire without flinching, because that's what the Stoics taught, that life is not supposed to be easy, it's supposed to be real. And reality includes loss, heartbreak, failure, injustice, loneliness. But it also includes clarity, strength, and meaning, if you know how to look for it. Today, we'll walk through 5 hard-won Stoic lessons for those who are struggling. But let me be clear, this is not a spiritual band-aid. You won't find cheap optimism here. You'll find something more rare, spiritual armor. We'll begin with what the Stoics saw as the true root of suffering. Then we'll uncover the ancient skill of differentiating what you can and cannot control, the forgotten power move of emotional mastery. You'll also learn a practical Stoic technique to deal with emotional pain, one that philosophers use to survive exile, torture, and death. Next, we'll explore the deep resilience that Stoicism teaches, the kind that doesn't just endure pain, but transforms through it. And finally, we'll look at how to turn your suffering into strength, not later, but starting today. We'll draw not just from the well-known names like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, but from lesser-known thinkers who knew what it meant to suffer and still walk with dignity. People like Musonius Rufus, Heracles, and Cleanthes. Welcome to the Stoic Lighthouse. Let the Stoic Lighthouse guide you toward peace and wisdom. If you're ready to stop running and start rebuilding, if you're searching for a deeper kind of strength, one that can survive the storm and stand still, then this video is for you. Like the video if this message already struck a chord. Subscribe if you're building the kind of mind that cannot be broken. Let's begin. Number 1, the root of suffering. According to Stoicism, why do we suffer? For the Stoics, pain itself isn't the real enemy. The true source of suffering lies in how we interpret that pain. Epictetus teaches us, people are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. Think about that. 2 people get fired from the same job. One spirals into despair, feeling like a failure and drowning in self-pity. The other sees a door opening, a chance to start fresh, learn something new, and reinvent their life. The situation is identical, but their interpretations turn it into 2 completely different stories. The illusion of control and the birth of suffering. Stoics believe that the root of suffering isn't found in what happens to us, but in the narratives we tell ourselves about those events. This happens because we live under the illusion of control. We build expectations about how life should go. We assume people should treat us kindly, plans should unfold perfectly, and hardship should stay far from us. But reality has no obligation to meet those expectations. When life contradicts our imagined world, we suffer, not because of what happened, but because our worldview gets shaken. Seneca reinforces this when he says, "There is nothing good or bad except what we think about it." In other words, emotional suffering emerges the moment we resist reality, when we demand that life be different than it is. The danger of identifying with your pain. But there's something even more destructive: identifying with your suffering. When we cling to beliefs like, "I'm a victim, my life is ruined," or "this pain will never end," we turn that suffering into part of our identity. We don't just feel pain, we become it. Epictetus warns us about this. If you cling to what was lost, you suffer twice. Once for the loss and again for your attachment to it. This is the cycle of suffering. A painful event occurs. We resist it, and that resistance creates more pain. We identify with the pain, making it part of our story. We get stuck, unable to move forward, But here's the Stoic key: suffering only has the power you give it. The Stoic exercise to weaken suffering. The Stoics used a mental discipline called the observer's perspective. Marcus Aurelius practiced this by journaling daily. In his reflections, he reminded himself, "You are not your pain. You are the one observing it." Try this now. Think about what's causing your suffering. Now, instead of diving into the emotion, step back. Become a witness, like you're watching your pain from across the room. Ask yourself, does this define me, or is it just something passing through me? When you emotionally detach from the pain, you realize it's just a moment, a weather pattern. It doesn't own you. Number 2, what we can control and what we cannot. One of the foundational teachings of Stoicism is surprisingly simple, and yet life-changing when truly understood. There are things we control and things we don't. But most of our suffering comes from getting these two mixed up. Epictetus begins his Enchiridion with this exact principle. Some things are within our power, while others are not. That one idea is a turning point. If deeply internalized, it can completely shift how you handle stress, grief, anxiety, and even your daily frustrations. The modern trap of false control. In our culture, especially in the US, we're taught that if we work hard enough, hustle long enough, and stay positive, we can control anything. This mindset fuels ambition, but also creates unrealistic expectations. We try to control the outcome of job interviews, other people's opinions, political outcomes, even the traffic on our morning commute. And when reality doesn't bend to our will, we suffer. But Stoicism invites us to draw a clear boundary. As Marcus Aurelius put it, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. So what's actually in our control? The Stoics break it down with surgical clarity. You control your thoughts, your judgments, your choices, your actions, your responses. Everything else? That's external. You don't control whether people like you. You don't control your past. You don't control how long you'll live. You don't control whether the market crashes or the weather ruins your weekend. And here's the paradox. The more you focus only on what you can control, the more powerful you become. An American example. The job rejection. Let's bring this home. Imagine Sarah, a graphic designer in Chicago. She applies for her dream job at a top agency. She preps for weeks, crushes the interview, but 2 days later she gets the dreaded email. We've chosen another candidate. Now, Sarah can't control the decision. She can't change the outcome. But she can choose her response. She can spiral, "I'm worthless, I'll never succeed." Or she can respond like a Stoic, "I gave my best, that's within my power. Their choice is theirs, not mine to own." This subtle shift from outcome-focused to effort-focused is where Stoic resilience begins. A practical Stoic technique, the control audit. Here's something you can do today. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, stop and ask yourself, what part of this is under my control? Write it down. Draw 2 columns if you need to, mine versus not mine. This isn't about apathy, it's about clarity. The Stoics weren't passive, they acted with precision, but they wasted no energy on illusions. They invested only in what they owned, their minds, their choices, their virtues. Seneca reminds us, a wise person is content with what is within their power and doesn't worry about the rest. True freedom, then, isn't having control over everything. It's no longer needing to. Number 3. A practical Stoic technique for emotional pain. We all suffer, but Stoicism doesn't promise a life without pain. It offers tools to navigate through it with strength and clarity. While modern culture tells us to think positive or distract ourselves, the Stoics offer something much more radical. Face the pain head on, but change your relationship to it. Epictetus frequently reminded his students that pain is not the enemy, our interpretation of it is. That's where the work begins. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Let's say you go through a breakup, it hurts, your mind races. Why did this happen? Was I not good enough? What if I never find someone else? The pain of loss is natural, but that spiral, the one that sinks you deeper into despair, that's created by your judgment. According to Epictetus, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about seeing them for what they are, temporary sensations, not truths. The Stoic pause, creating space between stimulus and reaction. Modern psychology now echoes what the Stoics taught over 2,000 years ago. Between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies your freedom. The Stoics developed mental techniques to expand that space. One of the most powerful is viewing yourself as an observer. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself in his meditations, you are not your emotions, you are the observer of them. So when that wave of sadness or anger rises, don't drown in it. Step back, watch it, label it. Instead of saying, I am angry, say, anger is present. This simple shift reminds your brain, I am not this pain, I'm the one witnessing it. A simple grounding practice, the observer's chair. Here's a Stoic-inspired exercise you can try today. Sit down, close your eyes. Think of something that's been bothering you, a recent insult, disappointment, or fear. Now, visualize yourself sitting across from it. Observe it like a scene in a movie, no judgment, just awareness. Now ask, is this pain a fact or a thought? Will this still matter in 5 years? What can I control in this situation? This technique is about building emotional muscle. The more you practice it, the less control your emotions have over you. American example, the social media burn. Let's say Kevin, a high school senior in Austin, posts a video he worked on for weeks and it gets torn apart in the comments. His first reaction is panic, shame, anger. But if he's practicing Stoicism, he pauses. He thinks like Marcus Aurelius, does the opinion of strangers define my worth? He reminds himself that his intention and effort are what matter, not external approval. That's Stoic mastery in action, feeling the sting, but choosing your response. Pain as a teacher, not a punisher. The Stoics didn't reject pain, they studied it. Because hidden inside every painful moment is a lesson. Seneca says, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Pain, then, becomes the curriculum of the wise. Number 4. The power of Stoic resilience. Pain might visit us, but despair is always a choice. The Stoics understood this distinction deeply, and resilience to them wasn't a buzzword. It was a cultivated discipline, a daily practice, a choice to rise again, even when the world tries to knock you down. Resilience in the Stoic worldview isn't about suppressing pain or pretending to be okay. It's about building an inner citadel, a place no external force can conquer. And here's the key, that fortress is built brick by brick, with every challenge you face and overcome. What is Stoic resilience? For the Stoics, resilience is the art of enduring hardship without becoming bitter. It's the decision to maintain your virtue, your reason, courage, and justice, even when everything around you is falling apart. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look." That strength doesn't come from motivation or mood. It comes from clarity, knowing what is within your control, and choosing to act with character, regardless of the outcome. Pain builds character. If you let it imagine you're laid off from your job, it's sudden, your savings are tight, your plans fall apart. You have two choices, collapse inward or stand firm and reassess. Modern Stoic thinker Ryan Holiday puts it this way, obstacles are not the enemy. Obstacles are the path. In other words, the challenge isn't detour, it's your training ground. The Stoic doesn't just survive storms, they use storms to sharpen their judgment, temper their emotions, and strengthen their will. The resilience reframe, from why me to what now? When pain hits, the first instinct is to ask, why is this happening to me? The Stoic reframes the question, what is this trying to teach me? And how can I respond with excellence? This shift isn't just mental, it's transformational. It turns victims into students. It turns suffering into raw material for virtue. Donald Robertson, psychotherapist and modern Stoic author, teaches, every obstacle becomes a stimulus to practice a virtue you might otherwise neglect. That's the Stoic power move, using pain to activate your best self. American example, the athlete's comeback. Take Serena Williams. At the peak of her career, she suffered injuries, defeats, even public criticism. Many athletes would have quit. She didn't. Instead, she used each setback as fuel. She trained harder, she studied more, she adjusted her mindset. That's Stoicism in motion, not just talent, but resilience. Not perfection, but progress. When life hits hard, remember, resilience isn't loud, it's steady. It's the quiet decision to keep going with purpose. Build your inner fortress, the nightly inventory. Here's a practical exercise inspired by both Marcus Aurelius and modern Stoics. Each night before bed, take 5 minutes. Ask yourself, what challenge did I face today? How did I respond, emotionally, mentally, physically? Did I act according to my values, or did I react out of fear or ego? How can I respond better tomorrow? This simple practice sharpens your self-awareness and strengthens your mental armor. It turns every day into training. Final insight. Strength isn't found, it's forged. You don't need to find resilience, you build it, one difficult moment at a time. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." The Stoic path isn't easy, but it leads somewhere rare, inner peace that cannot be taken, because it wasn't borrowed, it was earned. Number 5. How to transform suffering into strength. Pain is part of the human condition. But for the Stoics, it's also the doorway to transformation. They didn't just aim to endure suffering. They aimed to alchemize it into something powerful, character, wisdom, and strength. This is where Stoicism becomes not just philosophy, but a blueprint for thriving in adversity. Because while most people try to escape suffering, the Stoic confronts it, studies it, and uses it. The goal isn't to be untouched by pain, but to be unbroken by it. Reframing pain as fuel for growth. Epictetus was born a slave. He walked with a limp from a broken leg, and yet he became one of the greatest teachers of resilience in history. He taught, "Difficulties show men what they are." In other words, your response to suffering reveals your inner architecture, and once you see where it's weak, you can rebuild stronger. Modern Stoic Massimo Pigliucci adds, "Suffering can become fuel for wisdom if you're willing to engage with it honestly." This is the Stoic mindset. Don't run from pain, turn toward it. Ask, what can I learn here that peace could never teach me? Every challenge is a test and an invitation. Let's say you're betrayed by someone you trusted. The emotional fallout is real. Anger, grief, self-doubt. The Stoic response isn't to numb those feelings, it's to let them teach you. Marcus Aurelius said, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed." That's not denial, that's agency. You can feel pain without surrendering to it. You can hurt and still heal with dignity. This shift transforms suffering from punishment into invitation to cultivate patience, forgiveness, courage. The modern echo, post-traumatic growth today. Psychologists speak of post-traumatic growth, The phenomenon where people emerge stronger, more focused and more compassionate after deep suffering. This isn't wishful thinking, it's science confirming what Stoics knew long ago. Adversity can clarify what truly matters. Donald Robertson explains, Stoicism doesn't eliminate suffering. It empowers us to respond in ways that create meaning from it. American example, the 9/11 firefighter. Consider Joe Torrillo, a New York firefighter who was severely injured in the 9/11 attacks. He nearly died, he lost colleagues, he was crushed beneath rubble. But he recovered. And instead of sinking into bitterness, he dedicated his life to public speaking, sharing lessons on resilience, honor, and courage across the country. He turned his suffering into service. That's the Stoic ideal in action, pain transformed into purpose. The power exercise, turning trials into training. Here's how to apply this in your own life. Step 1. Recall a recent moment of emotional suffering, a rejection, a loss, a failure. Step 2. Write down, without judgment, what you felt and why. Step 3. Now ask, what virtue could I practice in this moment? Patience, courage, temperance? What part of this is under my control? How can I grow from this rather than shrink from it? This reflection rewires your brain to see hardship as a signal, not of defeat, but of opportunity. Final insight. From wounds, wisdom. Seneca reminds us to be always fortunate and to pass through life with a soul that has never known sorrow is to be ignorant of one half of nature. The Stoic doesn't seek suffering, but when it arrives, they greet it with steady eyes, because they know suffering doesn't just break us down, it can also break us open to strength we never knew we had. Let your suffering become your sculptor. Let it carve you into someone unshakable. Suffering is part of being human, but how we respond to it, that's where greatness is born. The Stoics never promised us an easy life. They promised us a resilient mind. They gave us a philosophy forged in the fires of hardship, not for scholars in ivory towers, but for soldiers, emperors, slaves, and for you. Whether you're facing heartbreak, failure, or fear, you now have tools that have stood the test of time. Tools that have shaped some of history's toughest minds. Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations in the middle of war. Epictetus taught resilience from a place of slavery. And today, modern Stoics like Ryan Holiday and Donald Robertson remind us that in a world of noise and chaos, ancient wisdom can be a lifeline if we dare to use it. So what will you do the next time suffering knocks on your door? Will you react blindly or respond with clarity? Will you crumble or will you rise guided by reason and resilience? Before you go, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which idea from this video spoke to you the most? Have you ever used Stoicism to overcome a tough situation? What topic should we explore next? Your words matter, not just to us, but to everyone who's fighting their own silent battles. So take a moment, share your thoughts, and let's build a stronger, wiser community together. If this video brought you value, help us spread the message. Give it a like, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the channel for more timeless insights. Remember, you may not control all events, but you can always control your mindset. Until next time, stay strong, stay grounded, stay clear, and let the Stoic Lighthouse guide you through the storm.